Okay, you're going to have to excuse how incredibly cheap this looks. I did feel the need that you needed a visual aid as far as to be able to, the way I'll be able to keep track of who's winning in this battle, basically. Which, by the way, will involve keeping your annotations on, if you care enough.
Oh, boy.
So, basically the point of this is to... Okay. Basically, the thing is going to be, I take two movies that are one's either a remake or very, very similar, or can be compared, and we'll just take down aspects and see which one is better when you look at it from a full evaluated standpoint. This probably seems like a bad one because this is going to be a landslide, but the whole point is to basically say maybe Oz the Great and Powerful might not lose as badly as you would anticipate. So, I want to start off talking about, similarities and differences between the two. Obviously the similarities is, they're right there on the table. They take place in the same Oz, they have the same, they start in like a, well, Oz the Great and Powerful is actually black and white, and the Wizard of Oz it's more of like a brown and yellowish thing.
Yeah.
And then when they get to Oz, it goes into color, and it's spectacular.
Vibrant.
But the great thing that Oz the Great and Powerful was able to do with this was to fuck with the aspect ratio.
Yeah.
Because it starts in like your traditional, and then when it goes to Oz, not only does it fade into color, but it expands, which is really awesome.
Looks incredible.
But nevertheless, Dorothy walking out of her... What it actually was there was Dorothy runs into the shot and then opens the door, and then she goes out of the shot, and then Judy Garland comes out in the blue dress. The person that came in it was a full color shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the walls were painted like brown and white, and she was put in a dress that was brown and white, and then Judy Garland was over here in a blue dress already, and just
Wow.
But nevertheless, both reveals are fantastic in their own way. There are only 3 characters these movies have in common, I think, which are, well, characters, which are Oz, the Wicked Witch, and Glinda, the Wicked Witch of the West. But it still has, the Winky Guards and the Flying Monkeys. Even if in Oz the Great and Powerful they're closer to flying fucking gorillas, but regardless, they're still there. And they both begin in Kansas.
Yeah.
So, because if you look, like, at first I was thrown off because I was like, I don't remember the wizard being from Kansas, but at the end of The Wizard of Oz, when he's telling Dorothy about the hot air balloon he actually says the line. It's really fast, but you have to catch it. His line is, "I'm a Kansas boy myself." He says it really fast, and you can barely catch it. But
Nice.
So, yeah. So, yeah, there's really not very many similarities apart from, the Emerald City, the Yellow Brick Road. The thing that I liked about what Oz did was when a lot of movies are in the same universe as classic movies or something like that, they want to pander to fans.
Yeah.
And they make really blatant references. Well, Oz doesn't really do that. Like, if it were any other movie, it probably would have been like, they made like a big-ass deal at the reveal of the Yellow Brick Road. Mm-hmm. But in Oz the Great and Powerful, the Yellow Brick Road exists, and we know it, and they don't treat it like a big deal.
They really don't even mention it that much.
And I think that was the perfect way to go.
Exactly.
So, I guess we will talk about similarities and differences. Or not similarities, we just did that. Fuck.
God.
Comparing things. Compare and contrast. The first point will be awarded to the movie with the better Oz. Not the character, the place.
Okay.
Both have great things about them, and both have not so great things about them. and I know it's kind of an unfair advantage. It's equal. You say the new one has an unfair advantage because the old one's a classic, but then again, in some aspects, the new one has an advantage because there's a lot of shit that the old one couldn't do, and they had to work with what they had. As far as Oz is concerned, I was really, really distraught when I first saw the trailer for Oz the Great and Powerful because when you first see Oz and that music kicks in, it looks like fucking Tim Burton's Wonderland.
Yeah, that was a big problem right off the top.
You got the weird exotic creatures. But within the movie, it actually didn't feel that way at all. It actually felt, like some utopia. Well, it's like it gets to that point. Like the place that his hot air balloon lands, it's like really dank and shitty. He's like in a swamp.
Yeah.
And there's weird creatures in there. But the farther he goes through Oz, the more glamorous and spectacular it gets.
Exactly.
So, as far as The Wizard of Oz's Oz, it's a great set. It kind of looks like, it almost looks like some of the same stuff they would later use in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The trouble is, obviously, they didn't have CGI and they didn't have, like these like, massive sets.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty obvious that while you have this really nice set, the really obvious painted walls that are painted to look like there's a vast, endless Oz.
Yeah.
Like that particular scene where Dorothy is skipping out of Munchkinland, and they're all seeing her off, and they're waving by. You got the trumpet people up here. She after she's done skipping, she turns and she waves, and then she turns and she starts to walk away down the yellow brick road. If they had cut 1 second later, Judy Garland was going to run right into that wall.
Yeah.
I always wait. Luckily, they shot it just right. I always wait to see her stop as the dissolve is happening to the next scene. But, like I said, that's all they could do back then, because this Oz was able to use CGI to make it look vast and endless. So, the thing though is, not to take anything away from people who work in CGI, because just as much attention to detail goes into people designing things on a computer as it would for people actually on a set.
Yeah.
But with what people were able to create on the set in Munchkinland, and more so in Munchkinland than Oz itself, in the original, there was a lot of creativity, and people had to manually do this, and like you have the whole the mayor has his own thing, and you have the red brick. People wonder where the red brick road goes. That's right next to the yellow brick road in that spiral.
Yeah.
Apparently, it just goes to the mayor's place. But they have you have all the different Munchkins, and you have the there's those ones where it's like a giant bird's nest, and it looks like eggs, but it's actually the little beds that the Munchkins are in. And when they wake up, they look like they're hatching.
Nice.
So when they the whole Ding Dong the Witch is Dead number takes us basically through a tour of Munchkinland, and so the people who made Oz and designed Oz in the original movie seems like it would have been more of a labor of love than the people that designed Oz and Oz the Great and Powerful.
I can understand that.
So, in this particular case, the first point would have to go to the original. So, but Oz is not dead yet. Let him fight. He's the underdog of this fight.
Want your laptop to go black there.
Huh?
You might want to tap your laptop every once in a while to make sure it doesn't go black.
I have it in slideshow, so it won't do that.
Awesome.
At least I think. Just in case, we're still being cheap. If I had the DVD for Oz the Great and Powerful, which I only don't because it came out like 3 days ago and it's probably still super expensive.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I would have it as a visual aid, but until
Every once in a while, AJ's gonna bend over and like mess with the mouse a little bit.
sorry, I got Mr. Doesn't Edit here. I'd show you all kinds of visual aid if Mr. Channel Runner did some editing, but
I don't edit.
okay.
You guys want to edit?
So
SirOwenDisney@gmail.com.
well, anyway, the second round, we'll talk about the Emerald City, as I said. These are two completely different Emerald Cities because in Oz, it is run by Evanora, who is the Wicked Witch of the East. So it's really dark and kind of like when Scar took over Pride Rock.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
The Emerald City in the original is run by the Wizard, so it's really bright and everybody is happy all the time. Like you have the workers that like put them back together, and they like shine the Tin Man and they restuff the Scarecrow and they put a bow on the lion's head and curl his hair and shit. This Oz isn't so jovial because it's basically a tyranny.
Yeah.
And it gives like a like there are some shots where they look out. They're like on a balcony and they're looking out at it, and it almost looks like a deserted, like a futuristic Gotham City or something.
Yeah.
But the thing is we get a lot more of a glimpse into this Emerald City. Like they don't really show us much of the Emerald City in the original. They get there and then we have a bit of the inside. We see where they're like being pampered, and then we get a glimpse of some of the buildings when the Surrender Dorothy scene happens, and then they go right to the Wizard. And that's pretty much all we do in the Emerald City in the original. So the new one was able to devise more into that, like when they're in the carriage and they're looking at the whole thing. I thought it was nice to get an eyeful of the Emerald City for once instead of just see that famous outline of it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show mercy and say that the better Emerald City came from Oz the Great and Powerful. So it's got a point on the board. Yeah. Okay. Next, we can compare theme songs. We have the Oscar-winning Over the Rainbow for the original movie, and we have Almost Home by Mariah Carey for Oz the Great and Powerful. This one's tough.
The Jeopardy theme playing in the background.
Okay, enough time wasting. This needs no more discussion. Point goes over here. Okay, so with the Wizard of Oz officially in the lead, we can go on to the characters now. And we'll start with the sidekicks. We have the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion against Finley and the China Girl. Well, let me go into this because this might seem like a no-brainer, but the heart of Oz the Great and Powerful comes from Finley and the China Girl. Especially the China Girl, because there's like a whole catharsis in that character.
Absolutely.
Because at the beginning, that's another similarity they have, is you have the same actors playing different characters. They kind of symbolize who they're going to be in Oz in the black and white portions. Like there's clues to that, like where are they in Oz? When the Tin Man gets, stuck, Hickory says, someday they're going to erect a statue of me in this town. He poses just like he does when he gets stuck as the Tin Man. Somebody tells Hunk that he has no brains. And then when Dorothy falls in the pig pen, it's Zeke that has the courage to go in after her. And she talks about him being even more scared than she is. Now, in this, Finley is, what was his name in the real world? Frank?
That sounds right.
I don't remember for sure.
I think so.
But anyway, he's Oz's servant, basically. in Kansas. So, of course, Finley is his servant in Oz. And this is actually a really nice thing, even though people think it's cheesy. The China Girl is voiced by Joey King and animated by Joey King. And she's, in Kansas, she plays a crippled girl that's at Oz's magic show. And of course, his stuff is just illusions, But he makes them think he's real. So she asks if he can make her walk again. And of course he can't, and he's exposed as a fraud, and it ruins him. But then when he first discovers the China Girl, both her legs are broken off. So to bring his character back to ease out his karma, I guess, he's able to make the China Girl walk again by gluing her legs back together. Now, you have to give Finley and the China Girl a lot of credit because Oz the Great and Powerful is a pretty massive movie in scale. And for these two side characters to be able to bring the heart to it that it needs, single-handedly almost, speaks volumes for them.
Oh, yeah.
However, there's a reason the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion are legendary. And everybody knows who they are. That goes mainly for the actors themselves. Ray Boulder was the things he could do with his body, when he would perform. He plays himself in The Great Ziegfeld, that 1936 movie, where he plays a janitor and he gets the chance to go on stage and show what he does, and he does this whole big number just by himself. And then Jack Haley and Burl are equally just, I'd say all credit goes to Ray Boulder for the fact that when you think of Dorothy's sidekicks, whether it be the three in The Wizard of Oz or Oz's two sidekicks in Oz Great and Powerful, the one that everybody first thinks of and always knows is the Scarecrow. Which he could have a bit of an advantage because he's the one she meets first, but regardless, he's the most memorable.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the most memorable scenes. I always love when they get attacked by the monkeys, and just the way he's all, first they took my legs off and they threw them over there, and then they took my chest out and they threw it over there. But that's not to bring down, the Cowardly Lion or the Tin Man as characters, but the Tin Man has the most heartbreaking line of the whole movie, where Dorothy's leaving, and they try to make it a big deal by her saying, "I'm going to miss you most of all," when she's talking to the Scarecrow, but I'm already ruined by that scene when the Tin Man says, "Now I know I got a heart because it's breaking."
Yeah.
That's heavy shit.
Indeed it is.
I gotta be honest though. I'd probably take Finley and the China Girl over the Cowardly Lion. Even though, he's also got a very important, place in this story because,
of course,
courage is a big deal.
Yeah.
But regardless, looking at it as Finley and the China Girl versus the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, yet another point's got to go to the Wizard of Oz. So, as I was saying though, Oz is not completely losing this battle like most would think. Yeah. Which is the whole point I'm trying to make here.
Exactly.
Next would be Glinda, which is, I think her name is Billy Burke, which is not to be confused with the actor that... Alright, he's in a lot of things, but you probably know him as Kristen Stewart's dad in Twilight. He's also on that show Revolution. And Michelle Williams in Oz the Great and Powerful. Now, this is actually a really important character because it's another one of those... This is where, Okay. Michelle Williams has this grace and this sweetness about her that just makes her the ideal Glinda.
Yeah.
There's that joke that a lot of people like to make where the Glinda in The Wizard of Oz almost seems untrustworthy. Because all Dorothy wanted to do was go home.
Yeah.
And at the very end of the movie, Glinda tells her, just click your heels together 3 times and say there's no place like home.
Yeah.
How many times was Dorothy's life endangered throughout The Wizard of Oz?
That's a good point.
When as soon as Glinda met Dorothy, she could have said, oh, by the way, this is how you get home if you want to do that right now. I mean, I know it's about, it's teaching Dorothy the lesson about there's no place like home, but...
Yeah, of course.
There's something about I don't know if it's the way Billy Burke played her or what was going on, but the Glinda in The Wizard of Oz feels a little shady sometimes.
I can see that.
Whereas Michelle Williams is just nothing but, like, grace and hope, which I think is what Glinda's supposed to kind of be. So, that's why she's the good witch. So, believe it or not, I don't think there would have been a better choice for Glinda than Michelle Williams. I can't even think of one.
I completely agree with you.
So, that actually brings us around to Oz getting another point. So, I think that's... Are they even now?
What have we gone through so far? Oh, look at this. The Emerald City, the song, then Glinda and the Sidekicks.
Oh, no, I think The Wizard of Oz is
Wizard of Oz is up by 1, so it could tie it up right now if it can win this next battle.
Okay. This next one is a little bit...
One-sided?
No, but a lot of people seem to think so. The Wicked Witch of the West. Margaret Hamilton versus Mila Kunis. Okay. People were all over hating Mila Kunis in this movie. They think she was just absolutely horrible. Before she was the Wicked Witch and after she's the Wicked Witch, they just hate her performance completely. Well, The Wizard of Oz actually gets the upper hand a couple of times in this battle. I will say that a great point I can give to Mila Kunis is she didn't try to be Margaret Hamilton.
No.
The Wicked Witch is like her. She tried to do her own thing with it. She's kind of got the laugh. Like,
the laugh is the only thing I can think of.
Because it's kind of a shriek before she starts to laugh, which is what Margaret Hamilton did.
Mm.
But I see that more as an homage than she tried enough to do this part on her own. I'd say the laugh was more of an homage than trying to be Margaret Hamilton.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a major point right there, because this would have been a lot of pressure to take this part on. And she was able to do it, and she went well for it. But, apparently Margaret Hamilton was like really, really nice in real life,
and
she was a teacher. But after this movie came out, kids were like too frightened of her to be students.
That's great.
And not to mention Margaret Hamilton got battle scars. She had like when the fire comes up when she leaves Munchkinland. She didn't go down in time, and she had 3rd-degree burns on her face, and the makeup on her face was making that even worse, and it was just this horrible, horrible thing.
Oh, wow.
But that's another thing. Mila Kunis was going to lose this battle no matter what, but I'd like to get some admiration in the fact that she did the very best she could, despite what critics have said. Real critics and otherwise. Another reason The Wizard of Oz definitely gets the point for The Wicked Witch of the West is the look. It would have been great if they put Mila Kunis in makeup. I think they could have been fine, because Margaret Hamilton's in makeup, and that was 1939, and it was perfect. Well, I mean, I know there were laws with Disney where they couldn't put the wart on her nose, but still, it's this big reveal when we see Mila Kunis for the first time, because when she changes, it's just in silhouette, or shadows. And then there's the scene where she goes to Munchkinland, and her face is right up in the camera, and she asks Oz to dance with her. Well, this is supposed to be this big scary reveal, but it was more along the lines of why did they put an animated head on Mila Kunis's body?
Yeah.
They didn't even. Did they do any makeup to Mila Kunis, or was that all CG?
I think it's all CG.
Because there was and it looks even worse when I actually think this is a nice scene, as corny as it might seem, but it's the last scene. It's the last time we see her in the movie, and she's flying out of Oz, and Oz says, if you're gonna change your ways, you're welcome to return, and she screams never, and then flies off laughing.
Yeah.
As far as her CGI face is concerned, I don't know if this is supposed to happen or not. It looked like a CGI fuck up, but when she screams never, her jaw goes from here to like down here, and I don't think it was supposed to look that way.
Probably not.
But so yeah, if they had put more effort into what she looked like, I think it would have really helped Mila herself. Like I think like some actors tend to go method like they do. Like I can't remember who it was now. There's an actor out there who when he's getting into character, the first thing he does is decide what shoes the character would wear.
Wow.
Because for some reason that just helps him.
That makes sense.
I think it would have helped Mila Kunis to be in makeup.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But whatever that is they did to her wasn't working. So yeah, that point definitely goes to Oz. The Wizard of Oz, I mean. We'll do Oz the character now. We might as well do James Franco versus Frank Morgan, because if we do Oz versus Oz, there's not really much Frank Morgan can give us.
Yeah.
But some people don't realize that Frank Morgan is in the entirety of The Wizard of Oz, because he's Professor Marvel. Then he is the door guy that says "Bust my buttons." That's a horse of a different color.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's the guy driving the carriage for the horse of a different color. Then he's the guard that says the wizard says go away. Then he's the wizard. There might even been one I missed.
Is that the guard that Bruce Campbell is in Oz the Great and Powerful?
I think he was supposed to be, yeah.
Okay.
Close enough. I was thinking Bruce Campbell was a Winkey guard. I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. I thought you were talking about guards. I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah,
He is a Winkey
I
guard.
wanted to rewatch Oz before I did this, but as is, I'm going on my memory of when I saw it in theaters over 3 months ago. So, but it's still all in here. So,
A lot more than is all in my head.
A lot of people were quick to jump on hating Franco because he seemed like a weird choice for the part. And he was losing a lot of people with the with the Oscars and all that. And just the fact that he was just busy all the time. It's almost like they just chose him just because he was busy.
Yeah.
I actually, like I said in the review video for This Is the End, this could just be my Franco fanboying coming out, but I actually thought he was almost perfect. Well, for starters, James Franco plays a lot of sleazy people.
Yep.
And untrustworthy people. The Wizard of Oz is a very untrustworthy person. He is a gigantic fraud.
He's a con man.
There is nothing good about him.
Yeah.
I mean, he tries, but it's like he said in he tries to clean it up in The Wizard of Oz by saying, "I'm a good man. I'm just a very bad wizard." But I do like the whole he actually practices in illusions, and that's how the giant head in The Wizard of Oz actually has an origin story.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, like, it's really difficult because Franco had a whole movie to work with to make this character, and Frank Morgan just had pretty much the ending to play the wizard himself. But Franco is just so convincing in that untrustworthy role. Like, I think Franco is more of the way he's supposed to be than the way Frank Morgan plays him at the end of The Wizard, because The Wizard of Oz tries to play it off like he really is a good guy that tries. Franco's Oz is a good guy that tries, but they really do bring out what a completely untrustworthy douchebag he is. Like when he has the music box that he gives to like every girl he meets.
Yep, and he tells the girl that this is the only one. This is my mother's music box. So is the last 52 you just gave.
And just, you know, and the way he treats Frank at the beginning. He does the whole journey. At the start of Oz, he does the whole journey just so he can get all the gold that's in the Emerald City.
Yeah.
I think Franco gave us a lot more of a look on what the wizard was supposed to be as a character.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it's hard to say that because it's unfair to Frank Morgan because he only had like the last 10 minutes of the movie to do this. So... But then you got to give it up to Frank Morgan for playing all the different parts too. Cause the Professor Marvel as a character by himself is great. That's good. Well, yeah, okay, I back that up. Frank Morgan actually was able to do the fraudulent stuff with Professor Marvel. Yeah, I'm doing these off the cuff. I would have. It's not as exciting if I know the winners in my head ahead of time. I have to actually come up with a winner on the spot right here.
Makes it more entertaining television.
So it's more along the lines of Franco's character in Oz versus Professor Marvel, as opposed to Oz himself.
Okay.
If I'm basing it solely on Professor Marvel, I think Frank Morgan gets the point. But that's really fucking close. So, the Wizard of Oz gets that point. It was suggested to me that I should compare the character of Oz in Oz the Great and Powerful to Dorothy, because they're the ones having the journeys. But that's hard to do. Like, I don't know if they're not really too easy to compare. Yeah, I don't... It's two different journeys for two completely different people. Because you got this... I mean, there are some things Dorothy does that aren't nice, but she's just a naive little girl. She doesn't know better. Oz, you know, for a while doesn't care, you know, who gets hurt or whatever. So, there's really no point to be awarded there. But, needless to say, The Wizard of Oz beats Oz the Great and Powerful. Obviously, that's, you know... I mean, if you look at these little scores that I've done, it's not by much. But, I mean, really, when you gotta be honest, Oz the Great and Powerful, The Wizard of Oz is somewhere in the clouds. But the thing is I think Oz the Great and Powerful could actually be a classic in its own right, really far down the road. They could almost be viewed as, like, parents 40 years from now will be showing their kids both of these together.
I agree with that.
So, I seriously thought Oz the Great and Powerful was going to be dreadful when I went into theater.
Yes, you absolutely did.
But the second I heard the Danny Elfman score and I saw the opening titles, I was like, this looks pretty ambitious. Let's see what happens. And it quite delivered.
Definitely.
It doesn't bring you to the emotional peak that The Wizard of Oz does, but it's got its own emotional payoffs and other things going. So, when somebody says, you know, what are you going to pick between The Wizard of Oz and Oz the Great and Powerful? Obviously, you know, you pick The Wizard of Oz because that's just a no-brainer, but...
Yeah.
Don't completely shun Oz the Great and Powerful off, is what I'm saying. So,
makes sense.
Yeah. Like I said, though, it's obviously Wizard of Oz was always going to have an advantage because Oz is only a few months old, and The Wizard of Oz is probably the most popular movie ever made.
Yeah.
The most seen, I would think. So, that would be the end of this round. I don't know which two I'm doing next week, but I'll figure that out. So, enjoy the victory of The Wizard of Oz over Oz the Great and Powerful, even though both have their own merits on many different levels. So, we'll see who wins next week.